Have you ever seen or done something so aggressively petty that you can only stop and think, why? Why are you doing this? Well, this is a tale of all that and then some. In fact, a Redditor said that this story of pain and pettiness should be an anime. Another accurately called it as pleasant as a taser to the nethers. The saddest things I've ever read aloud aside, roll post. This is the story of the most miserable campaign experience I've ever had in my life, and I've been gaming for over 20 years. This was the absolute worst. Here's some contextual background. We're a gaming group that's scattered all over who play a D&D style homebrew online, and we've been at it for over 20 years. A lot of players have come and gone throughout that time, but our campaign and the world it's in have been ongoing from the start. It's changed and grown over time, but the campaign has never ended, and some of us, myself included, are still playing the same characters since day one. They've had their ups and downs, their rises to power and falls from grace, but many of us have never gotten bored or tired. If anything, we've taken pride in making our characters grow and develop over the course of a generation to the point of establishing their own dynasties. However, 15 years ago, events happened that almost ruined everything thanks to an overly permissive DM and the girl who he allowed to have entirely too much power over the entire campaign. Yes, the girl was indeed the DM's girlfriend. Now, for the general overview of the central cast of what we will later call RPG Hell, names naturally changed. Me playing a soldier from another reality stranded in a magical land based strongly on Kara-Tur of Oriental Adventures in the Forgotten Realms. OP proceeds to introduce the entire party of 10. I'm going to instead introduce the characters as they appear to make it more digestible for the viewer and more to the point. Anyways, as you can probably tell, our campaign was very magic heavy. I was one of the few players with a character that could not cast magic. My character relied on skill, practical experience, ingenuity, and technology, consisting of advanced body armor, a few firearms, and full of other items that my character had to maintain as well. This made my character an anomaly, but gave him some unique strengths that enabled him to do some things the other PCs could not. Everything was fine because everything was kept balanced and fair. I did not have a suit of Mark X Aquila pattern power armor, nor the patronage of the Adeptus Mechanicus. My weapons were comparatively powerful, but not overwhelmingly so. Power cells could be recharged using sunlight or heat, but that took an extensive amount of time, forcing me to be careful. I could also repair and even build new items, but at an understandably slow pace, which was only right and proper. It was all about maintaining power balance. Unfortunately, as you can probably deduce on your own, not everyone believed in that policy. Player-wise, there had already been a lot of drama, angst, and conflict. Myself, Bravo, the original creator of the campaign, and Sierra, the DM's girlfriend, had once upon a time been the core of the party that everyone else more or less followed and relied upon. Bravo had the massive knowledge, Sierra had good, powerful melee combat abilities, and I had the ranged firepower and small unit tactics. It was a good system. Sierra and I also had been friendly out of game, though we didn't live anywhere near each other. Then, it all came to a screeching halt when she and Bravo, in real life, announced that they were officially dating, and made their in-character interactions an extension of their out-of-character relationship. Yes, they brought their romantic relationship into the game. Yes, I was understandably upset by this because not only did my character get completely screwed over when their characters started treating him like an intolerable nuisance, but the campaign swiftly became more and more centered around Bravo and Sierra, as she was promoted to the rank of main character and DM's girlfriend. No one accepted their excuse that, quote, "it's just what our characters would have done," and it resulted in several people quitting the campaign completely out of protest. A tale as old as gaming itself. The DM or guildmaster or whoever in a position of authority giving unreal privileges to a significant other. It's tempting to do, and it comes from a good place. We want to see our partners do well, so if you have the power to, why wouldn't you? The problem is obvious to most, because it undermines everyone's experience in-game, even the significant others, whether they want to admit it or not. The DM is no longer an impartial referee or guide, but a partisan entity that exists to fulfill one player's power fantasy at the expense of everybody else. They aren't even good at hiding it either. It's extremely noticeable whenever it happens, and it's insulting to everyone at the table. Your players notice these things better than you would expect. The correct answer? You gotta bully your partner. It's the only way. If she's not leaving in tears, you are a failure to your peers. Leave no doubt in anyone's mind that you genuinely do not care about your partner in-game or out. It's the only way to prove that you're not a simp. For now, we're gonna see what happens when this simple rule is ignored. Roll post. Sierra quickly started playing the GM's girlfriend card more and more, much to everyone's annoyance. In fact, Whiskey, the group's assassin, had been the first to object to how the site's message board was becoming a Sierra fan club, as he'd put it, and how several minor adventures had become all about them, with everyone else largely being excluded. Finally, we come to the heart of the story, the Campaign of the Seven, which had been created by Sierra herself, with Bravo's permission and assistance. Some of us were a little skeptical about the whole thing because she had been advertising it as being epic in scale, and everyone had lost some trust in them both after they railroaded their relationship into the game at my expense. We were right to be suspicious. 7 artifacts of supreme power had begun to awaken, with each fragment containing the essence of a godlike entity. When the stars were right, the artifacts would be brought together to reawaken the entity, who would then grant massive power to the ones who commanded the most control over it, i.e., possess the most items at the end of the campaign, and be able to completely transform the world. If you're getting Dragon Ball vibes here, you weren't the only ones, because that's exactly how we felt at the time. It only got worse because in order to start off the campaign, Sierra, out of character, contacted several of the other players to find out who was up for becoming the official antagonists of her campaign. You read that right. Existing characters were to become the big bad evil guys, and they were all supposed to become darker, edgier, and much more powerful versions of themselves in order to reflect the more grim, dark, and epic nature of her campaign. The characters all became known as the Steel Fist. They became much more antagonistic and hostile, but they also got a massive boost in experience and abilities in order to represent their becoming attuned to the entity and accepting its power. Yankee, a High Elf scholar, specifically rejected the offer to join, which surprised Sierra a little. I found out why much later. He didn't like the feel of her campaign, especially when Sierra wanted to specifically single out my character as the main target of the Steel Fist, as representative of everything they hated and were against. As it was, he in character advised the others against accepting the gifts of Sierra's new benefactor because overwhelming power, especially if it wasn't earned, corrupts overwhelmingly. The Steel Fist quickly went full throttle edgelord with a side order of power gamer, lightly seasoned with murder hobo. Sierra became some kind of epic-scale samurai fueled by God and anime, and didn't have any time or patience for anyone who was not on her level of skill, which was pretty much everyone. And yes, her character's new name became that of a bladed melee weapon. Oh no. Foxtrot, Adam, and India, the group's mages, became stereotypical edgelords angry at everything for No real comprehensive reason. Mike went from being an honorable and respectable warrior to someone who gleefully broke every rule and used every tactic, no matter how underhanded, in order to win. He had gone from something akin to a paladin to something more akin to an anti-paladin. Lima transformed overnight from being a cleric of the goddess of love to, you guessed it, a succubus in training. Echo's transformation was downright disturbing because she had gone from being whimsical and free-spirited in a genuinely enjoyable and well-portrayed way to someone that subjected herself to body scarification, sadomasochism, and generally insane behavior. And finally, Bravo became a dark scholar who taught the harshest of lessons, and people came to him for advice, and they paid very high prices for failures to learn or live up to the Steel Fist's extremely high standards. Sierra, out of character, kept insisting over and over that her side wasn't evil or possessed. They were just, quote, amoral and more free than before. Sure. At this point, we were seeing more red flags than the Soviet Union during a May Day military parade, especially after they made their stated goal of wanting to, quote, crush injustice and usher in a new era of justice, control, and prosperity. They then made a point of identifying my character, my access to technology, and my reluctance to use it as perfect examples of what they wanted to eliminate. Somehow, in their opinion, my character, who practiced extensive self-restraint and forethought when it came to using his abilities and items, was an obstacle that needed to be removed. Okay, full stop. Myself, and I'm sure many of you, have noticed a point of hilarious self-contradiction. On top of the twisted car wreck of mangled ideology that was her logic, they claim that their order is amoral. Amoral is described as having or showing no concern about whether something is morally right or wrong. Not immoral by definition, but I would say they can be connected when applied to certain beings that are totally capable of morality, like people. One is being evil on purpose. Another is being potentially evil because they simply don't care. There is an argument to be made of saying that choosing evil is still evil whether you care or not, but I want to focus on the party specifically. They claim to be amoral so that they can be more free and do whatever they want, but they also claim to be on a moral crusade. They say that their mission is to crush injustice and usher in a new era of justice, control, and prosperity. This is not the language of someone who doesn't care about or understand morality and righteousness. It sounds more like an evil group looking to shrug off responsibility for their terrible actions. Anyways, if you're still not convinced that these guys are entering hatred levels of mismanaged rage, just you watch and wait. Yankee took offense at that notion, pointing out that they were putting me on a pedestal expressly for the purpose of taking me down from a position I never wanted in the first place. They also chided them about how they had compromised their own principles in return for vast power, yet they mocked and targeted my character for not compromising his own. Sierra and the others weren't impressed. Stay out of our way or be crushed. Then Mike demonstrated his Sierra-approved power by destroying one of my character's items, just to prove how powerful he was. It wasn't just any random item either. It had been a magical weapon that was specifically gifted to me by Bravo himself, as DM Prime, as a means of apologizing for the railroading mentioned previously. The weapon, a bone blade created from the arm of Bravo's other NPCs, was not exceptionally powerful, but it did serve as a reminder that no DM should or could trample on another player and not expect consequences. Destroying the blade outright, with no saves or rolls made whatsoever, had been both god-moding and a declaration of intent. They were going to do whatever they wanted, regardless of how the rest of us felt about it. Sierra's response when I protested what happened, "It's gone, deal with it." Looking down at the small pile of dust and fragments that had once been the bone dagger prerogative, my character then reached down into that pile and withdrew the blade, intact and unblemished. Sierra, out of character, "Wait one damn minute, you can't do that." Me, out of character, "It's back, deal with it. I don't care how powerful Mike's character is. He cannot instantly destroy an item like that." If I had done something similar to Mike, or to you would have thrown a fit and accused me of breaking the rules. No god moding, remember? If you're not going to follow the rules, then why should I? Besides, I just reversed what Mike did. He didn't destroy the blade, so no rules were broken. No harm, no foul, correct? Even Bravo says, out of character, "He's right, Sierra, let it go." Oh, the betrayal. You know it's gone bad when even the boyfriend thinks, "Hey, maybe something stinks around here, and it's not just my mountain of dirty laundry and beer-stained carpet. Maybe, just maybe, the diva is overstepping." It's true. This is the beginning of Bravo's wake-up arc. However, it's countered only by Sierra going absolutely insane. The tone had been set though, and the gauntlet had been thrown. Sierra had been wanting to have adventures that were far more epic in scale and wanted characters to match. She also wanted a game world that reflected that. What she was planning, if successful, would rewrite the entire setting to high difficulty, requiring massively min-maxed characters that relied upon magic almost exclusively in order to defeat foes that were practically invulnerable to everything but characters equipped with said high levels of magic and magical weapons. Technology would be next to useless because it's not magical, and non-magical characters were equally helpless. Anyone that was not basically playing an anime main character was going to be relegated exclusively to the role of support. And what was her definition of an epic character? It was pretty vague, but her new characters were designed along the lines of the anime series Fate Stay Night and Bleach. Her own character was a combination of a ton of anime characters rolled into one. At this point, it was starting to get borderline personal for me. Sierra had been making it clear for a while that she did not like me, and the feeling was getting mutual. Whatever friendship we had was over. This wasn't a game per se anymore. She had an objective, she had been given way too much leniency and agency because of her Dungeon Master's girlfriend status, and she was enjoying the authority she had been given far too much. What came next was a series of module-style dungeon crawl adventures where one of the artifacts would be found inside each. We were competing against the Steel Fist, and cooperation was not an option. We were already at a disadvantage on several levels. But that is all the story for today, my crustaceans. The next story is when tensions become somehow more heated, so turn those notifications on if it's not out already, or if the video is already out, then it will be in this silly box to the side. Till next time.